everybody, and welcome to the All About Health podcast. My name is Georgia Overbeck, and I'm your host. And welcome to today's episode, which is going to be kind of like a life update, a recap on where I've been, because obviously if you've been following the podcast for a while, you may have seen that I have been a little MIA for the past month or so, or a little bit over a month, and I just wanted to come on and kind of explain where I've been and what I've been doing and where I am now and what I'm working on right now. So let's just get into the episode because I have a lot to chat with you about and update you on. And if any of this seems confusing, please message me on Instagram because I would love to clarify. So to start off, I spent the summer in Surrey, British Columbia with my family. So we were all living there, my mom, my dad, my two sisters, and myself. And we lived there from May 2023 until November 2023. Now, if you didn't know about our family, for the past couple of years, we've spent our winters in Hawaii and our summers in British Columbia. And the reason for this is in COVID time, we decided to shut down our family business and sell everything we own and move out of Ontario, which is where we were living. We were living in Ontario, Canada. And so we decided to spend our first winter in Hawaii at that time. So that was in 2022. And ever since then, we've come back in the summers and then went back to Hawaii in the winters. So this year, I asked my dad and my mom if it would be okay if I spent some time continuing to live in BC instead of going right to Hawaii with my mom and my sisters. And this was a big decision to make because I had never lived apart from my mom before. I was homeschooled. We grew up in a very religious family and household, and so we did everything together, and my mom is my best friend, so it wasn't like I wanted to get away from her. I had this feeling that I wanted to experience some more independence because I am 20 years old now, and there were a lot of things that I kind of wanted to do and experience for myself and by myself, and it was a hard decision to make, but ultimately, it did end up working out that I spent 3 months in British Columbia with my dad, and my mom and my sisters went straight to Hawaii. So this was in November of 2023. So from November 2023 until February of 2023, I was living in North Vancouver, British Columbia, Lonsdale to be exact, and I had so much fun there. I'm going to stay on this topic for a little bit and just talk about some of my favorite things that I did while I was in Lonsdale, and I don't have any notes or anything, so this is just me talking off the top of my head as if we were having a conversation. But some of my favorite things that I was able to do in Lonsdale, so I started working at a coffee shop called JJ Bean, which I actually worked at previously the year prior, and I was working full-time, which was awesome. And it was also great because since I had worked at JJ Bean before, I didn't need to do any training shifts or anything like that. I could kind of just get right back into work, which was awesome for me because I knew that I would be in Lonsdale for only a short period of time, and so I wanted to work as much as I could, and so being able to go back to JJ Bean was awesome. I was working at a different location than I was before, and so there definitely were some moments where I felt like a beginner or the newbie again, but everyone that I worked with was so kind and so helpful that I felt very comfortable very early on, which was great. A lot of my coworkers were around my age, and there were, I think, over 20 of us on the team, so it was an awesome opportunity for me to make new friends and just experience different personalities and people who were around my age or around my stage in life, which was really cool. I made many friends at work that I really hope and I know that I'll see again one day. And we did things outside of work too, which was really awesome, and I just had so many great memories with them, and I'm just so grateful for that time and that experience that I was able to have. Some other things that I was able to do on my own for the first time, and these were just simple things, but I think things that really built my confidence in myself to be by myself and to be able to handle things. And those are just simple things like taking the bus by myself, or going grocery shopping, or going to fitness classes, and just doing kind of these everyday adult activities, which I really enjoyed. And again, it built that confidence in myself, and I'm so grateful that I had all those opportunities. Now, speaking of fitness classes, while I was living in Lonsdale, I really wanted to take advantage of all the fun things that were in Lonsdale. And something that my family and we often hear from people is that we do so much in the places where we stay because we know that we're only going to be there for a limited amount of time. Usually, wherever we live, we're only there for around 6 months. And with Lonsdale, I was only going to be there for 3 months. And so I really wanted to do as much as I could in that time. And one of those things was taking as many fitness classes as I could, because I love trying out different workouts. I think it's really fun for me to switch it up and to try different things. And so some of the fitness classes that I took F45 classes for the first time. My sister and I actually did that, and I really liked it. I thought it was a great challenge. I definitely was sore after. I also took a Pilates class at a place called Legree West, which was really awesome. I had a great time doing that. I did a spin class at a place called Salted Cycle, which I 100% recommend. If you're in Lonsdale or North Vancouver, the Salted Cycle place, it was just such a great class. And I've taken other spin classes in the past, but I think Salted Cycle has been my favorite fitness studio for spin classes specifically. I also went to a studio called Oxygen Yoga and Fitness, and I took 3 classes there. They had like a trial thing where you could get 3 classes for a certain amount of money. And so I did a hot yoga class, a Pilates fusion class, and then like a total body conditioning. I definitely recommend trying that studio out. And then my dad and I went to a place called Moto Yoga, and we did a hot yoga class there. They were doing like an open house, and so the classes were free for the weekend, and my dad and I went. Definitely enjoyed it. It was very hot, which I really liked. We got really sweaty, and overall, I really enjoyed Moto Yoga. I think that's it that I did for fitness classes. Some other things that I really wanted to take advantage of, though, in that time was trying a bunch of the fun vegan foods that were available in that area, because as a vegan, I like to try different things when they are available and when they are an option. And so some of my favorite things, I went to a coffee shop called 49th Parallel Coffee Roasters. They have delicious vegan donuts. I think there are 4 different flavors, and I had the opportunity to try them all. They were all so good. I really, really liked them. By the way, this podcast is not sponsored. These are genuinely all my own opinions, and I paid for all of these things myself. I also really enjoyed ice cream from a place called Dolce Amore. They have amazing vegan flavors and just so good. Especially if you like ice cream like me, you gotta try it. Some other of my favorite vegan things, I went to Whole Foods quite a bit, especially in my last week of living in Lonsdale, and I tried some fun things from there. I tried a chocolate cake, I tried a vegan croissant, a brownie, I think pizza, couple of other things, but they obviously have a lot of great vegan options there. And then the last thing that I'm going to mention is I really enjoyed going to Beautiful, which is a actually fully vegan and plant-based cafe, and they have a ton of delicious things there as well. So those are some of my favorite vegan things that I've tried in Lonsdale. I won't go on too long about that, but if you want more recommendations about Lonsdale or North Vancouver, let me know, because I tried as much as I could. Next, I want to talk about some entertainment things that I was loving while I was in Lonsdale, and I'm going to start with like movies and shows. So my dad and I actually decided to watch the full Star Wars series saga in timeline order, which was super fun. I had seen Star Wars, like the main movies, before, but it's been years since I've seen them, and my dad, he grew up with Star Wars. He still is a huge Star Wars fan, and so it was really awesome to kind of watch or rewatch the movies now as a little bit older and having a different perspective on them. We also watched some of the shows that went in between. So we watched The Mandalorian, Boba Fett, Ahsoka, what were the other ones? Obi-Wan Kenobi. So it was super fun to kind of have more context to it. I would have to say that my favorite was either Obi-Wan Kenobi, The Mandalorian, or The Rise of Skywalker. I know, hot take, but I really enjoyed that one, so that was super fun and great memories with my dad watching those movies and shows. Something else I got really into was I started reading fiction books, which I think I talked about this a little bit, but this was around Christmas that I decided to start reading fiction books. It's been about, I would say, 4 or 5 years since I've read fiction books. I've just read a lot of self-help and personal development books in that time, and it wasn't until this year that I was like, you know what? Why not just read a fiction book? Or I guess it was last year because it was Christmas time. But yeah, so I started by reading a lot of the most popular nonfiction books, fiction books, like the Divergent series and then The Hunger Games. And I would have to say The Hunger Games, I really enjoyed reading that series, especially the new one, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, since the movie just came out. I really enjoyed reading and then also rewatching the movies after that. And then Divergent, I reread, or actually I've never read that book before. So I read the book for the first time and then watched the movies after, and that was great. I'm currently reading The Fault in Our Stars, which is a movie that I've seen many times, but I've never read the book, and so I'm super excited for that. And I have quite a few fiction books that I will be reading in the next couple months, which I posted a what's on my reading list on TikTok if you want to check it out, but I'm sure I will share it on here eventually. I'm trying to think if there were any other books. I think that those are my favorites, but back to movies, I did watch some fun movies while my last week of living in Lonsdale, and I watched the Hannah Montana movie, which was super fun. I had seen that before, but not in a long time, and so I had a lot of fun listening to the music and watching the movie again. I also watched The Confessions of a Shopaholic movie, which again I had seen before, but it had been a while. And I'm trying to think if there was anything else that was super memorable. I watched a documentary on Netflix called You Are What You Eat, and it's kind of this experiment with twins, getting them to eat a healthy plant-based diet versus a healthy omnivore diet. I thought it was interesting. I like watching documentaries, and I find them kind of educational, so if you like documentaries, I would recommend watching it. But to tie my whole Lonsdale experience together, I would say it was definitely a time of learning a lot of independence for myself, which I am so grateful for and I valued so much. A lot of trying different restaurants and cafes and just activities around me. A lot of going to work and making new friends and seeing old friends too, which was really cool. It was actually really interesting because this kind of leads into my next point. So this is kind of the last time that we will be spending our winter in Hawaii, and the reason for this is because our plan all along has been to eventually be able to live in the States. We are Canadian residents. We were all born and raised in Canada, but we would love to be able to get our work visas and our green cards to actually move to the US. And so my dad, his work has kind of been working on that since he got the job, and that's kind of a big reason why he did go back to working. And things are definitely speeding up now, and we are hopefully going to have our visas and everything by the springtime. So instead of going back and living in Canada for the summer, we'll just be going to the States. And we're going to be living in California. That's the plan. And that is super exciting, and it's gonna be crazy, a whole other chapter of our life. And we most likely will be living there for a while, and then who knows what's going to happen after that, because we've been working on getting our visas for so long and kind of had that back and forth for so long that it's going to be nice to have more of a steady kind of place to live. But that also meant that this was my last time living in British Columbia for a while. I know that I want to go back one day. I don't have any plans right now, but I'm sure I will one day. And it was kind of interesting because we had spent 2 summers in British Columbia, and then I spent those 3 months in Lonsdale. And every time it was a little bit different, and there were different people in our life and different circumstances that we went through and experiences. And on my second to last work day, I went out for breakfast with a friend that morning who was kind of from the Dollarton time, so that was the first time that we were living in British Columbia. And then I was walking to work, and one of my old customers when I was working at JJB in the past year just randomly showed up. Like, I had not seen them in over a year, and they just randomly were there. And then I was at work with all the people from the Lonsdale time, and then I went out for dinner that night with two friends more from like the Surrey time. So there were just a lot of people from all the different times that I was living in BC, and it was actually making me a little bit emotional because it felt almost like the end of this time in British Columbia. And I'm so grateful for it, and I had so many great experiences and made so many great connections and friendships with people. And I know that I'll be back one day, but I just am so grateful for all that I was able to experience in British Columbia. It's such a beautiful place. So now let's get into kind of where I'm at now, what I am working on now, and also what's to come in the future. So I got to Hawaii 4 days ago, and it's been great so far. It's been really nice to be back with my mom and my sisters and to kind of have that, I don't know what the word is. They're very entertaining, I would say. And so it's just fun to be back with the girls and have every day is girls' day. Every day is Galentine's for us. And so it's been really nice to be able to be back with them. And also, of course, I'm not working full-time right now. And because I'm Canadian, I can't work full-time legally. And so I've been able to put my fitness kind of as first priority again, which has been really nice for me. When I was working full-time, I still was working out and staying active, but not as much as I can now. And so I've been really taking advantage of this time being in Hawaii and having more extra time and more free time to train for a half marathon. I made it a goal this year to do a half marathon, and I think I'm gonna do it in July is what I would like to do, is when I would like to do it, because I'm turning 21 this year and I would love to run 21 kilometers for my 21st birthday, and so I think that would just be really cool. So I've started training for that. I'm on day 4 right now, and it's been actually really nice getting back into running. I haven't ran since maybe October, and I just feel so much more like me when I run. I love running so much. Not to go on a tangent, because I know that can be a little annoying talking about how much I love running, but it's true, I do. I have made a whole episode about my running tips. Maybe I'll make an updated one just because it's been a little while, but I am currently training for my half marathon and feeling really good with that. And overall, I'm just getting back into my content creation. Again, I was still doing it when I was in Lonsdale, but it kind of, again, took that back burner. So getting back into that and just enjoying life and enjoying Hawaii, because I know that in a couple months things are going to be crazy again with moving to California and finding a place to live and just getting situated there, and then eventually getting a job when we're in California as well. That is definitely something that I want to do once we get our work visas and green cards, is I do want to get a job again, whether that be at a cafe or maybe I'll work as a fitness instructor somewhere. I am not exactly sure yet. Maybe as a waitress. I'll have to see. There's a lot up in the air right now, so just taking a moment before I have to make all those decisions to kind of like reset my mind and see what I actually want to do once we get to California. Of course, I have only been here for 4 days, so I'm sure I will be getting up to a lot more things in the next 3 months, and that's why I love having the podcast and my YouTube channel and Instagram and TikTok and just all my social media platforms to be able to share it with you. If you listen to this full episode, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I know that it can kind of be all over the place and a little bit complicated, but that's the way that my family and I's life is right now, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm so grateful for the life that we are able to live, and I'm so grateful that you are interested in following along and either watching or listening to my life with me. So I hope that you enjoyed this episode. More episodes will be coming regularly, I promise. And if you did enjoy it, I would love to know your feedback on Instagram or on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to this, or on YouTube. And I hope you have a fabulous day, and I will see you in the next episode.